Y'all planning for this?
Welcome back, TPR Nation. This is Jamie Shalansky in an episode of Worlds to Conquer. And today we are going to have a conversation about people who identify as a human being that gets joy and derives self-worth out of being an acts of service individual, and how that can really, when it goes unchecked, thwart you in your pursuit of achieving all of the goals that you have set out in life. Now, this is a subject that I can definitely relate to because I am an acts of service person. So what does that mean? What does acts of service mean? It means when we are in service to other human beings, whether we know them or not, we derive great sense of satisfaction from that. We like to help other human beings, and not in the way that is normal, common courtesy of holding the door. Fun fact, I once took a negotiation class from a hostage negotiator. And when they would have a suspected terrorist in a neighborhood that had a mall, and this happened a lot in the 80s and 90s when that was mostly where people went as a communal place. Oh, second fun fact is that the invention of malls as we understand them today, which are just these big conglomerate buildings in which you can walk around, stroll, get food, and shop for different commercial items, only came around in the mid-1950s. Before that, malls didn't really exist. And it was an Austrian architect. Gosh, what was his name? I think it was Gruen is his last name. But this is a fascinating story that when he was tapped in order to build malls throughout the United States, he would do it in suburban areas and start to build these giant monstrosities. Now, the reason that he wanted to do these was not so that he could bring all the shopping and all the food venues for some type of commercial exploit, but instead, his architectural ambition was to have America resemble a little bit more of Europe. So one of the big distinctions, if you've gone to Europe, is that when you walk around the different cities inside of Europe, that you have apartment buildings and places to live up top, and then down on the bottom floor is a shop. And it's a grocery center, it's a cafe, it's everything that you need is within your little, 5-block radius or so. And perhaps this is most resembled in cities like New York, but in the 1950s, we didn't really have those type of centers. And so when his architectural ambition came around, what he wanted to do was he wanted to create a city center. And so every city center in Europe of note starts and begins with a water fountain. And so there would be some type of communal place that everyone would gather near the fountain, like a city square. And when he would design these malls, so now think of every mall you've ever seen in your history in the 80s and 90s when you were maybe going to those a little bit more frequently than we do today. But they all had some type of fountain and shops to eat around in those bottom places. So that's how he started this strategy of the mall. So when in the 80s and 90s, when malls were at their most popular before the invention of the internet, this black swan negotiator would tell us that they would watch for suspected terrorists when they had an indication that something was going to happen in that area. And they would watch the entrance doors to malls. And the entrance doors to malls were a great indicator of whether or not somebody leaned a little bit more to sociopathic tendencies. Why? Because if a person sees another person struggling with like a stroller, shopping bags, a cane, a walker, a wheelchair, etc., a normal individual goes and holds the door for both of those people. But a person who has a little more sociopathic tendencies does not. And so they would begin to profile the people that came into there just watching it. So most individuals will hold the door for other people that they see struggling. Now, we might not run 100 feet in anticipation of holding a door, but we will do that. And that is across both genders, male, female, and also all age demographics. It's not inhibited. The only thing you don't see is younger kids, and that is a parenting act. In fact, my nephew, Gabriel, when he turned 13, I said, hey, you're entering into manhood, and therefore you need to start stepping up to the plate as a man. And that means you open and hold the door for people. And so it wasn't just this acts of chivalrous, right? But it was teaching him to be socially aware of other people around you, socially aware of your surroundings. Now, did I have to tell his sister to do the same? No, sure didn't. Why? Because she's an acts of service person too. too. And so she will have a natural tendency to be more situationally aware to other people's needs. So there's a big distinction between a person that's an act of service and just a good human being. And just good human being is going to hold the door. But an act of service person might also push the stroller or might also grab the bags. This is the individual that when you invite them over for a dinner party, they feel super awkward standing around and chit-chatting, waiting to be served. They would rather be in the kitchen. They would rather be there helping. They'd rather be there 45 minutes in advance to help you set up for the party because they feel terrible that you're serving them. They want to show acts of service in return. So an acts of service individual, this is where it has to become a matter of self-recognition because it's a good thing. It's a great quality. One of my laws for living is you show up for the people that matter in your life. Whether they have asked you to or not, you show up for them. And because you don't get to define what those big moments are. And you've probably experienced this as a financial advisor or somebody in the financial advisor space. If you're working in an office, you've probably made a dramatic impact on somebody, but have no real cognitive recognition of it. Think about all of our friends when they come back to us and say, you know what, years ago you told me X. Or if you can't relate to that, think about sometime a teacher or an influencer or a priest or a preacher or somebody in your life said something that really sort of stayed with you over the years. It's saturated inside of you and you think about it every now and then. That individual might not have any awareness of the impact that they had by just making that statement on you, good or bad, right? It might have been a great statement, most likely because we are just into self-loathing and detriment. We hold on to the negative stuff a lot more. So maybe it was a cruel comment. Maybe it was something that you wish you could let go of, but you hear, especially when you lay your head down at night. But whatever that comment is. So when you're an active service person, this is where you derive joy. And if you derive joy out of this, you want to be useful in most areas. But this is where it hurts you. This is where you have to check yourself because you're not able to become the person that you need to be for even more people if you aren't able to let some of that go. Now, I just returned from an incredible conference. I had the opportunity to meet with a financial advisor who's so successful in his own right and is an incredible guy to spend time on. And he's not ostentatious. He's definitely an acts of service individual as well. His name is Paul, and we had a great conversation. Now, Paul, like myself, is a believer. And so everything we do is with Christ filter. We're constantly thinking about how we can make the world just a little bit better, how we can remain humble, how we can remain true in our passion and our pursuit. And as I was talking to Paul, one of the areas that he was struggling with was hiring an executive assistant. And we've just belabored this point to him. And if we meet you and you don't have an assistant and you're a solo practitioner or solo advisor, and you're going to tell me, Jimmy, I can't afford it. And I'm going to tell you, you can't afford not to have one. You can't afford not to have one because when you're first starting out, that first year or two, I totally understand. You got to grind. No matter what Hollywood depicts, there is not a lot of money in finance when you first start. And when you're paid quarterly, as most people in finance are, you really have to be cognizant of your finances because everything has a price tag. Everything has a barrier to entry. Everything has a cost to it. And all of a sudden, you see all of your revenue start to go away and you're not sure where to invest in yourself. Should you hire additional staff? Should you get a coaching program? The answer to that is yes, of course you should. And this is where I love fractional executive assistants because if you are a solo practitioner and you are not able to hire a full-time employee or unsure of how to run a full-time employee, because there's a big difference between knowing that you need one and being able to successfully manage and run one. Running a team takes a different type of skill set. It really does. At Shalansky & Associates, our RIA up in Anchorage, Alaska, we are multi-advisor. So as an enterprise office, we got about 6 advisors. We have about 15 support team members. And so we've got a pretty big practice for an independent RIA. And that takes a different level of energy. It takes a different level of organization. Now, when we were smaller and we had a handful of people, it was super easy. But as you grow, as those duties become more and more challenging for people to fulfill, that takes a different set. So if you've never been employer, you need to be coached on it. Use a company. If you need one, try Belay. Belay only hires USA-based citizens to be their EAs. And they also have programs for the executive to teach you how to run employees. Now, if you can't afford that, don't think it's a good option, you could also try the Philippines. They've got great executive assistant programs there. I would say that takes a different kind of energy. You're paying a lower price because you're having to do more managing. You're having to do more managing because there's going to be a language and time and situational barrier. If you don't want all that and you want to put just hire an American and make sure that you're not having those obstacles, go to Belay. Hit them up. You can reach out to us. We'll give you a great person that already aligned financial advisors with the executive assistants, understanding what this industry needs from those individuals. So you can email us at lifestyle@theperfectria.com. We'd be happy to make an introduction to you and at least take that challenge out of it. And what I like about Belay is they're doing all the interviewing. They're doing all the interviewing, all the vetting. They're doing all of that. And you don't have to do what I think is the worst part of having to hire someone, because people who interview good are normally terrible employees, and people that interview terribly are normally good employees. So you really have to sort to find the needle in the haystack. So as I'm talking to Paul, he did elect and start to hire an assistant, but there was a lot of head trash around that. And that's something that I completely related to because years ago, before our lead relationship manager, she came to me and said, Jamie, you're working all these hours, you're doing all these great things, but have you thought about hiring someone? And when she said it, I felt so insulted, like all parts of me, like my hackles were up. And I was like, no, I absolutely cannot do that. I cannot hire an executive assistant. There's nobody else that can do this work except for me. Well, I deal a lot with attorneys because I have a lot of small business. I've got a lot of different operations going. I said, what if something comes in from the attorney? They didn't bring it up to me. They're going through my email. Oh my gosh, no, absolutely not. And she was like, oh, okay, and she didn't fight me on it. She was like, oh, I just wanted to make the suggestion. And then after I got so spun up about it, I came down into a state of prayer as I'm going out and I'm walking. And that's where I love to commune with God, is out on walks in nature, right? So I'm hijacking my brain. I'm getting all those neurological senses from being in motion. I'm appreciating the glory of where I live. I live in Alaska, so this is an amazing territory to go walking. And then I'm also open. I'm receptive. I'm hearing. I'm listening. I'm asking, right? And so as I sat there and I was going over the conversation that I had had with her, I thought to myself, my God, when did I allow my arrogance to creep up on me? When did I allow myself to become so self-important that I think I'm the only person in the world that can do the work that I'm doing? That can't be true. Because if it's true, what happens when the good Lord calls me home? All this work is going to crumble all around me. And then I'm not empowering and teaching other people to come up and really utilize their own self-worth, their own power, their own ability to help others. And when I thought about it in that light, and it's difficult for me to ask somebody to do something for me. Now, the beautiful part of it is that I had a relationship with an employee. They PCS'd out of here, so they're a military family. Shalansky Associates, we love to hire military wives. We love to hire military wives. The reason is because my mom was a military wife. And when my dad got reassigned, and that was back in the 80s, so your duty station was only every, 24, 36 months, and you had to leave constantly. And so she had a really hard time getting a job. So she had to take a lot of low-end jobs because nobody would hire her because she was going to leave in a couple of years. So when we started our own business, one of the very first things that we set out to do was that we would hire military wives, regardless, even if we had them 2 or 3 years, then that was what we were going to do. That's where we sourced a lot of our employees from. And we have worked with some of the best people, the hardest working, most appreciative, dedicated, loyal individuals by doing this. Now, prior to the internet, because we only started really kind of doing this in 2010. So prior to 2010, when they left, when they PCS'd, the employment was over. We were done and we needed to start with somebody new, but we'd, keep good relations. After that, though, with the invention of the internet and the Zooms and the conference meetings and everything being cloud-based, we didn't have to make that decision anymore. If we had a really good employee and their husband had a PCS, we get to keep them. We get to offer the job and have them be hybrid, have them be virtual. So by the time that 2020 rolled around, we had a decade of running hybrid employees underneath our belt. We didn't miss a beat during COVID, not a beat. So we had a really great head start on that process. And it gave us the ability to hire all these individuals that we really liked and keep them, retain them. So as my lead relationship manager is talking to me, I really valued her opinion on this. And I knew if she was bringing it up to me, it was worth being said, because she doesn't bring frivolous stuff to me. And when you work with people that you respect and you hear their opinion and advice, even when it doesn't make you comfortable, I was so uncomfortable hearing this, right? But she, like me, is an acts of service person. And so when she suggested it, one of the gals that her husband is in the military and who is my executive assistant, Amanda, she had left the workforce when her first child was born. But now she had, two kids and was getting really antsy as they got older because she had just enough time to do something, but not enough time to do everything. And she needed some adult stimulation. And so she contacted me and said, hey, could I float my resume by you? And then do you know if anyone is hiring? And so as she said this, I said, well, let's have a conversation, and I said, Amanda, here's the deal. I'm super uncomfortable. I don't know if I want to do this at all. It might not work out. We might get 3 months down the line. And I say, nope, bad idea. Back up. Can't happen. But would you be interested in being my executive assistant? And she was elated to do it. She was like, yes, definitely. Now, she is also an acts of service person. So why did I correlate myself with an acts of service person? Because an acts of service person is going to go above and beyond as an executive assistant. And this is why. Because they want you to have an experience that they would want for themselves and their loved ones, and they're going to have like a vicarious relationship to that. So when I tell her, hey, I'm traveling, I've got this conference, going on, here's where we're at, could you scout out different places to eat? Guess what I don't have to spell out for her? I don't have to spell out for her that I have extreme allergies. And because she's already going through the entire venue and making sure that I'm 100% okay. And if I'm not, she already has other things coming to the hotel to make me okay. So I don't have to spell those things out. She's already thinking in advance about those items. So in those acts of service, she also appreciates gratitude. So after the experience, I love to be able to send her a couple of pictures and tell her the highlights. Thank you so much. One of the great things that she started doing for me this last couple of years is that when I have my family travel with me, my spouse and son, she also plans activities for them. And they always go on a horseback riding trip because my spouse loves it. My son hates it. And so it's become this kind of family joke. And he's a good sport about it. He's like, nope, let's go. Saddle me up to a mule. And the boy is like 6'2", So riding on a horse is a little bit awkward for him, but it's become this like fun family joke. And so she will always look at that and find different adventures for them to go on during our time together. And so she's really been able to coordinate stuff that as I'm building up for a conference, and what I love about it is she takes the day that I'm supposed to be the most busiest and she makes sure my family is also busy in ways that they're not like, hey, when are you done? Hey, when is lunch? Hey, are we eating together? All those things. She's already taking care of all that and given them a full agenda that the next day leaves them a little tired and wanting downtime. So she learns all of the family dynamics as far as that goes and is able to accommodate that. Now, as I'm preparing to lead up to a big conference or a big event, I had a lot going on. And thinking about scheduling horseback riding for my family is only a back of mind thought. It's on the back burner. And I know that isn't how it always should be. But a lot of times I got to get things printed. I've got to get things confirmed. I've got to get the good negotiations. I've got to make points of contact that I want to have dinner with. There are bigger things going on that having this person help me tidy all of it up just makes my life work so much better. But if I had committed to being an acts of service person, if I had allowed my ego to tell me that I didn't need anyone to do something for me because I was supposed to show up for those people, I was supposed to do things for those people instead, then I wouldn't be able to tap her and use her talent for her highest and best use. And I would be thwarted. I would be confined. I would be limited to the hours in the day that we have. So if you are like me and struggle with the idea of bringing on an assistant, I would recommend highly to do it. And the first thing that I would do is I would give them personal tasks before I would give them business tasks. So this is one thing, my brother, Micah Shalansky, he's been quite through executive assistants. And one of the things that I just told him this last year, I said, hey, don't start them off on the business side. Even though that's where you want them the most, start them off on the personal side. And he was like, that's interesting. And I said, yeah, bring him on as a personal assistant and have your company pay for it and have him take care of the tasks, right? Making date reservations, ordering flowers for mom, putting it on your calendar to call your mom. If you are lucky enough to be alive and your mom also alive, call her, put it on the calendar. I know you get super busy. I know you get slammed, but guess what? She raised you. She wants to hear from you, and you only have so much time with those individuals. And maybe this is your dad, maybe it's your aunt, maybe it's your grandparents who raised you. Whatever it is, don't allow the busyness and hustle of life to jeopardize the amount of time you have remaining with that individual. So if it needs to be scheduled on your calendar, schedule it on your calendar. Take the action, because if you don't, what will end up happening is you'll get so busy, you'll justify why you didn't call them. Like, oh, I'll talk to them tomorrow, until there are no more tomorrows. So take that action. So when I have the EA do this, she's doing all the personal tasks. We get big windstorms up here in Anchorage, Alaska. We don't whine about them or need it televised all over the TV, but we do get 100-mile-an-hour winds. And so I've got really big cottonwood trees. Anyone that knows a cottonwood tree knows they soak up water like a sponge and they hollow out in the center. And a big windstorm will drop an 85-foot tree. So I text over to her and say, hey, listen, can you have a tree service come out and drop the trees that need to be gone before winter hits? That's a task she can do, right? She can arrange it. She can coordinate it. She can even FaceTime with the person as they arrive on the property. I don't have to be here for that. As we go into fall, I'm going to host prospect and client events at my home. I want my windows done. She's going to make sure the windows are all cleaned on schedule. She's going to do all of those. Right before we go into surge, I like my truck detailed. Why? Because everything in my life has to work. It has to work smoothly and automatedly. And so when I go into surge, I want my truck totally detailed. I want my clothes completely dry clean. I want to be 100% ready. So the week before surge, she is busy getting all that stuff done. Why did I start her on the personal side? Because when I start her on the personal side, she's learning my communication styles. She's understanding my expectations, and I'm able to paint what done needs to look like. Now, here's the hardest part about delegating. The hardest part about delegating. Once you've delegated it, you cannot take it back. Once you've delegated it, you cannot take that task back. And here's where it becomes hard. It becomes hard when it's easy for you. When you're having to explain things multiple times to an individual because they're not doing it correctly, and you know that you could just jump in and do it, then that is when you are a good example of being a bad leader, because now you're not teaching them. Now, next time something becomes hard for them, they're just going to give it back to you. So once it's delegated, you have to, even it takes 5, 6, 7 times, you have to go back and back and back, and they have to get it right. So it's much easier to start it on a personal task, because if they screw up the appointment for my window washing service, it is not end of world. I can throw an event with dirty windows. My mom would have a fit, but I could do that. Or I could wash them myself, right? So it's not end of world. So I'm training them on the ability to do that before I start on the business side. Because in the business side, I might not have all the relationship clout needed for them to screw up. I might have a new relationship starting with somebody, and if they screw up where we're supposed to have lunch or dinner or drinks or meet at a conference or whatever it is, that's going to be a terrible impression. And they're not going to think that that's a problem with my assistant. They're going to think it's a problem with me. And so I like to start them on the personal side versus the business side. Now, once they've got a good cadence going on the personal side, you've worked on all that communication stuff, that's great. Then I move them over to smaller business tasks, and they have to earn the ability to do bigger business tasks. And so one of the things that's really critical, and you need to think about this, is how you're going to run that employee. I already mentioned our friends at Belay. They have a whole coaching program. They can teach you exactly how to follow up, how to communicate, what to do, how to delegate. They could also give you items to delegate, because a lot of executives I meet with, they said, I don't know what this person would do. But I'll tell you what, you can ask Amanda. She's busy every day of the week, because the thoughts that come in my head. And I also, while I do have her phone number and text, I have a communication hierarchy with her. And if I'm just, because as entrepreneurs, right, as visionaries, we're constantly thinking about all the things that we want to do. And that could be a Sunday at 2:00. And I need it off my brain, but I don't want to bother her on Sunday at 2:00. So what I'll do instead is we have a policy on how we communicate. So maybe it's a Loom video if I've got to explain something and she needs to hear it. It's an email. It's a Google Chat. We use that and I'll drop it in there. Now, if she responds to me on a Sunday at 2:00, I'm going to reprimand her. I'm going to reprimand her because she should not be in chat. Her recovery is just as vital as my own. And I chose to use chat because it wasn't critical. Now, when I'm traveling, I will text her because normally when I'm traveling and things happen, I'm like, hey, the car service didn't show up, the chauffeur. They can't find my confirmation number. And so that's the give and take. So if it is immediate, I will call or text her if it's something that I need right then. But I don't abuse that privilege because it is convenient for me to text her. Because when I text her, that is a gong being rung. And when I text her, she's immediately stopping what she's doing. Maybe she's in carpool, maybe she's at a parent-teacher conference, maybe she's outside biking, and she's going to attend to whatever my need is. Why? Because she's an acts of service person. She's not going to tell me, Jamie, hey, it's 6:00 on a Sunday. I don't have time for this. She's going to say, oh, absolutely. Let me grab all the information. Here you go. Is anything else? Do I need to call a hotel? And she's going to do all that. So when I'm traveling, we both know that there's some give and take there. Something might arise. I might need her after hours, and she's okay with that. But I cannot abuse the privilege. I cannot. She will allow me to. I will not allow me to because I think her recovery and her time with her family is just as important as my own. And I don't want to take advantage of a person, especially if they're an acts of service individual. Here is the second way that being an acts of service person can really impede your growth. So I shared with you in great detail about how we don't want to ask other people to do things for us, right? We don't like that. But if we give it the right framework, we can adjust, we can come around to it, and we know that we're not abusing them, we're leading them, we're empowering them, and they get a lot of value out of that. They get a lot of self-worth out of stepping up to the plate and having that role to fulfill. Now, the second way it's going to thwart you, and this is a sneaky, sneaky little devil because you don't realize it, but it just happened at this conference that I was in. I had my protege there, so young financial advisor. She spent 6 years with us as a relationship manager. Now she's on the track to being a financial advisor. And she's done a lot of events with us, right? She's done a lot of events, prospect clients, conferences. She's done a lot of things where we as Shalansky's has hosted that. And so as my brother and I are on site, she wants to be of service. She wants to be of service. She wants to make sure, did we eat? Did we drink? Do we need copies? Oh, the speaker forgot something. I can run to the lobby and go get it. She is an acts of service individual. But when she was at that venue, she was not there as an employee. She was there as an attendee. And so being an acts of service person meant that she wanted to be helpful. She was more comfortable being helpful than she was perhaps networking or mingling or discussing and meeting with other people. Not that she's incapable of that. It's her natural gravitas. She's naturally going to go to that, right? And so I had to stop her and say, no, I don't want you to do that. I want your butt in the seat. I want you listening to this presenter. This is going to be freaking earth-shaking material that they talk about, and I'm pumped to hear it myself. So therefore, I better see a notepad full of notes from you. And so you have to be able to recognize that when you are an active service person, you will sacrifice yourself above others. You will make the call to miss out on something as long as other people get joy or get benefit or get value from doing it. And so when it comes to our professional growth, we have to be cognizant of that because we will take the back seat. We will take the back burner. We will put other people before us, even when they're not asking us to. They're not asking us to. We're just jumping to do that. We are just waiting to be able to be of service. So I want you to be cognizant of that. If you identify as an acts of service person, are you shorting yourself from either professional development or continuing education, or maybe showing up for events and things because you are constantly putting other people before you? And your needs are becoming last in line. So if you find that you are a person that identifies with that, you have to give it a space to live. And you also have to recognize when it's holding you back, when it is stopping you from achieving the growth that you were put here to achieve, that everything inside of you, every cell, every fiber, every nerve ending is supposed to be in pursuit of. You know that everything we do at the Perfect RIA is about the pursuit of perfection. We are on a mission to become a perfect RIA firm. We work with the most incredible financial advisors across the country. We network with individuals that are of like mind, that want to openly collaborate and share information, and they want to put you on a path to building a multi-million-dollar practice. That is the whole reason we started the Perfect RIA, was because we were so tired of fake experts telling us how to build practices when they had never sat in front of a client ever a day in their life. And instead, we're taking real advice from real financial advisors. We are openly collaborating. If you are looking for a path, we have 2 memberships, the Backstage Pass and Invictus. Backstage Pass is a do-it-yourself program. You're going to get access to a path towards building the practice that you want, but you're going to have to do the work. Invictus, that is 100% about accountability. That is, if you are now ready to put your money where your mouth is and achieve your goals come hell or high water, that's the Invictus coaching program. It has transformed lives in ways that I can't even share with you without choking up. When you see the Invictus members and know that the growth and the accomplishments that they have been able to achieve, it gives me goosebumps. I mean, they have transformed not only the lives of themselves, but their relationship with their spouse, with their kids, the relationship, the dynamics they have with their offices. And then that has a reverberation towards dramatic impact towards all clients. And this is about changing lives. This is about heartbeats. This is about making massive impact to as many people as we possibly can for as many days as the good Lord gives us. Action items I want you to think about right now. 1, identify, are you an acts of service person or not? An acts of service person isn't a badge of honor, and it's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So if you're not that individual, it's okay. It's not a good thing or a bad thing to be that person. All right. Second of all, do you need to hire an assistant? Do you need to hire somebody fractionally, part-time, full-time? What does that look like? And what is it going to take for you to get started? 3, I want you to think about if it's delegated, you can't take it back. I want you to make recognition and mental note. Did I delegate something and now am I taking it back? If you're not sure if you're doing it in the workplace, start at home. Have you asked your kids to do something? They didn't do it. You don't want to fight. And so now you're taking it back to do it. And that doesn't help them. That doesn't serve them. That doesn't make them better human beings. Even if you have to do the work with them in order to get it done, they got to finish what they start. That is the greatest gift that anyone that is in a parenting or mentoring capacity can teach other individuals. Finish what you start. Don't quit because it got hard. Finish it out. Make note of that. Then go into the office and then say, okay, did I delegate something to someone and it's not done? And guess what? Yes, it does take twice as much time to sit down and do the work with somebody, but it only takes twice as much time one time. And then instead of every other time you give them something and it comes right back to you. And make sure everything you do is documented, right? So develop your policies, develop your processes. I have, when I have a travel policy in place, I take a screenshot of the airplane seats. If I'm flying a 737, this is the seat I want. If I'm on this jet, this is what I want. If I'm flying solo, here's what I want. If I'm flying with my family, here's what they want. But I spell it out so there's no ambiguity. So we can always come back to something instead of me getting frustrated and saying, why am I in the middle of an exit row? This is not where I sit. And my assistant saying, I have no idea where you sit. Yeah, I don't know where you normally like to sit on an airplane. I have spelled all of that out with pictures. So that way it's super, super clear. And guess what? Did it take time, energy, and effort? Yep, sure did. One time. It took time, energy, and effort one time. And now she has that a resource for forevermore. And so if she comes to me and says that their seat isn't available, I know she has gone through all the other steps to verify. TPR Nation, this has been an episode of Worlds to Conquer. I'm Jamie Shalansky. Go find people who share your values. Change the world.
Hold on before we go. Something that you need to know. This isn't tax, legal, or investment advice. That isn't our intent. Information designed to change lives. Financial planning can make you thrive. Start today, don't think twice. Be a better husband, father, mother.